Hello, my name is Sue George from enhanceyourebook.com, and today I'm talking to Phil Brett about his new novel, Comrades Come Rally. So Phil, what's your book about in a nutshell?
Well, it's a thriller set in the near future in Britain. I should say it's in the future, but people shouldn't expect robots or flying saucers or anything. It's a Britain very recognisable to our own, and the political and economic fabric of the country has collapsed, and revolution is looming, and against that there's a mysterious death that the lead character, Pete Calder, is brought in to investigate. So I would hope it's a mixture of a thriller, a whodunit, with a bit of humour, I would hope, thrown in as well.
And would you say it was a dystopian or a utopian novel, or neither?
That could depend on your political outlook, as there's a real possibility of a socialist revolution in my book. Depending on your politics, that will be either utopian or dystopian. But certainly from my perspective, was one of the things I always note about novels or movies set in the future. It's a very negative, depressing view that we'll all end up in a quasi-fascist state. And actually, although the Britain that we're used to is being severely shaken, I think the revolution is looming as what people say is a very positive one, as a liberation of humanity rather than a destruction of it. So it's certainly not dystopian. It's one that I hope where people can change the world they live in.
So what are some of your political and theoretical influences?
Well, I would say that I'm proud to be called a socialist, and there's an important element of that to the book. As I said, the fact that Britain is in a revolutionary upheaval is a main central aspect to the book. You could even say the main character of it. But, you know, I wouldn't want people to feel that they have to know the Communist Manifesto inside and out before they actually get round to reading it. It is also a thriller. So, as well as my politics, there's also a love of the hard-boiled detective novels of Russ MacDonald and Raymond Chandler. So, my idea was how to have that sort of book, you know, the lone private eye, in a Britain where investigating something that the police would normally do. So I suppose it's a mixture.
No, I was just going to butt in.
Sorry.
To say that your detective, your sometimes reluctant detective, Pete Calder, where does he come from in terms of all those hard-boiled detective novels that you were just talking about?
Well, I wanted the classic of the genre is the sort of maverick, isolated from society. So it's in that tradition. There's also a tradition, certainly in certain Scandinavian novels, of a sort of rather isolated, depressed individual. So it's from that. But I wanted it to be, whilst being inspired by the sort of Philip Marlowes, they're quite sort of macho and self-assured. Pete Calder isn't like that. He's got, shall we say, lots of issues, and you know, he's a troubled individual who I hope can make a few amusing wisecracks.
And one of the things that he's interested in, of course, is his clothes. And we just have to take a look at you here, Phil, to know that there's a lot of you in Pete Calder.
Yeah, I think there's a literary term for that, and it's called lack of imagination. So yes, you could say that a lot of Pete Calder is based on me. Perhaps people close to me would say his personal issues as well, although without giving elements of the book away, I would hope not all of the issues. But yes, I mean, use what you know best, and thoroughly vain, shallow male, I thought of myself would be perfect to base the character on.
So one of the things which interests me is the fact that it doesn't fit very neatly into a genre. So it's not a sci-fi novel, it's not a dystopian or a utopian novel, it's not straightforwardly a hardboiled detective novel either. So how's that been for you when you're thinking about who might want to read the book?
I mean, yeah, that's quite a difficult question, really, because I don't want to sound twee, but I actually really just wrote it for me. Coming back from a hard day's work, and it was a form of escapism from me. I'm a primary school teacher, so escaping the fun and jollity of teaching, it was a way of me escaping. So I didn't really think of who would be reading this. It's more like, this is what I was writing, this is what I was enjoying writing, and basically all the things that I enjoyed, I just threw into it. I would say of the genres, it's probably least like science fiction, because there's not much in a way of advanced technology in there, which is partly because I didn't want to get into the game of would that be happening or would it not be happening, and partly because I personally can barely be able to control the technology we've got now, let alone think of future technology. But really all the different elements in there, the detective, the thriller, the humour, I would hope, the socialism, that's what I wanted to write about, that's what I would like to read about. So the audience I was just thinking about was myself to begin with.
So where next for both Pete Calder and for Phil Brett?
Well, one's easier to answer than the other. Where next for Phil Brett? Who knows? Probably downwards. Pete Calder, without giving the ending of the way, the book finishes with Britain still uncertain of its future. Will it remain a parliamentary democracy? Will it go into revolution? Will there be a fascist counter-revolution? So the next book hopes to explore what happens next, and in the final 2 chapters it is also exploring the, I can't think of the word, the repercussions, that's it, of Pete Calder's actions. So the next book, which I have started, will be the repercussions of what happens in the first book, but I hope to make it slimmer, quicker novel this time.
Great stuff. So if you want to read Phil's book, or you want to know more about Comrades Come Rally, just go to comradescomerally.com, and there's lots more information about it there.
Thanks for watching.